Welcome back. This is Around the Crown. We're talking all things Sacramento Kings and beyond. Join the Royal family by hitting that subscribe button. And while you're down there, you might as well smash up that like button as well. All right, Cal, we've been talking about a ton of different trades over the last couple podcasts. I think I'm going to take a little break on trade requests. Unless you guys have any in the chat you want to share with us, I'm happy to fire up the trade machine. But I've been talking about Pacers. I've been talking about Zion and the Pelicans.
We've talked about it
Brandon Ingram. We've talked about so many different guys and potentials and way to build. And I actually made a prediction. You remember that in last night's podcast?
Yeah,
what my prediction
was? January 18th.
January 18th. The Kings are to make a deal before January 18th.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm wrong, and I don't know what the repercussions are going to be.
Well, you'll take a shot of
yeah,
wrong.
Probably. But, okay, I just want to talk a little bit more about Doug. Yeah, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Doug. I could talk about this guy for hours. Loved him as a player. Loved him as a broadcaster. I'm loving seeing him on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, my favorite part about Doug Christie is when you go to a Kings game, it's right in the intro, and they're telling you all the rules of the stadium, and they say no fighting, and he punches Rick Fox with that uppercut. It makes me feel so good inside. It really does.
Yeah.
And now I see him on the bench, congratulating guys, encouraging guys. You know, I like Gentry. I like what Gentry's done. I think he's an incredible NBA coach. I don't want to take anything away from him and all his accomplishments. Dude has been in the NBA for a long time, and just that right there shows how valuable of an asset he's been to all these teams. But I like the change, and I really like Doug. I want Doug to finish the season as head coach. I think that's what these players need. I think they need a young guy that's closer to their age, who's in the gym all the time, who's capable of working out himself and running with these guys, encouraging them. He's been there a lot more recently. He's done it in Sacramento. And I just think that he vibes with these guys a lot better, and he preaches defense.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with all of that. The only thing I would say to that is, and I'm not suggesting that I don't want to see Doug Christie get an opportunity to be the head coach, but I don't think that letting him be the coach for the rest of the season is going to change things that much for Sacramento. Because he's already been on the bench the whole year. His record, 2-2, is Alvin Gentry's record is still 500, right?
Yep.
As head coach of the Kings.
Yep, I believe so.
So I just don't believe that that's the magic fix. I think the roster needs to be changed.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a fix at all. I just think he's the best man for the job right now. And I'm not saying...
I still think that he would benefit. He doesn't have to be... He can still have, share responsibilities of head coach. But I do really think that he would benefit a lot from continuing to sit next to Alvin Gentry for the rest of the season.
Charlie says, Alvin Gentry is Cheeks and has always been Cheeks, fired everywhere he's been. You know, Charlie, I agree with you, but also that's the life of a coach, man. Most coaches get fired everywhere they go. That's the only reason they leave and end up going to other teams. I think even Phil Jackson got fired. How many times did Phil Jackson get fired? Twice?
Yeah.
I think the first time he left the Lakers, he didn't get fired. But he got fired on the Bulls, I'm pretty sure. And then I think he got
he was fired. I know he was fired as president of the Knicks.
Oh, and the Knicks too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, crazy. What's up, Gothan? Good to see you, buddy. Shout out. Sorry we missed you on the last one, but we're here. I'm drinking a beer, and we're having fun talking about this victory. Skip says Gentry got Pels in the second round and did a very good job following up D.
He's turned over lots of teams. The Suns, the Pelicans. I mean, the reason he's got a sub, we talked about it before, the reason he has a sub 500 career coaching record is because he keeps getting thrown in as the interim coach on terrible teams. But he's a well-respected guy. I think that he's done a lot of good things for this team since he took over as head coach. And again, that's what I'm saying is, Doug Christie is not trying to reinvent the wheel here. He's doing the same things he's preaching the same things that they've been preaching to them the whole season long. Everybody says, oh, well, Doug Christie's a defensive-minded guy, so the defense obviously has to be better. He's been working with them on their defense all season. He didn't just start 3 days ago when he took over as head coach or whatever. And their defense hasn't been that great this year. So
yeah, but the message can be the same, but it can be delivered in a different way. I'm sure
I don't think he's delivering his messages in practice any differently now that he's
but at the
acting as head
games,
coach.
he's energetic. He's there. He's encouraging guys. He's not
does
just
that
sitting
as
there.
an assistant also.
But he doesn't have the same power. It's like being in a classroom and having a teacher and your substitute teacher. When the substitute teacher's there, it doesn't matter how good they are. Maybe you do well, they're there, but it's a temporary situation that is going to end as soon as your teacher's back. If you're the guy in the position and you're, the boss of the boss of the boss, people know that, and things sound differently coming from you. And I just love the encouragement. He's, I think, the definition of a player's coach at this point, which is
I agree with
crazy that I say that because he doesn't have very much coaching experience. But I love the encouragement. I think that is what these young guys really need. And he's well respected in Sacramento. I'm not saying he's the answer to all the Kings' problems. I'm not saying he should be their coach next year because I haven't seen enough to determine that. But I'd like to have Gentry on the bench for the rest of the season. But I'd like to have Doug Christie as the head coach through the rest of the season. Try something new. Skip says, you got coaches who don't yell very much at all. Coaching teams who are over 500. I like DC more too, but we need a proven coach. We don't need to be a first-time coach's experiment. Yeah, I mean, I feel you, man. Maybe next year, but for this year, it's kind of a dumpster fire at this point. I feel like everyone looks at the Hawks last year and they're like, oh, you fire your coach midseason. It really helps and you can make the playoffs and all this. It doesn't usually happen like that.
Gotham, I don't agree with that statement that he's more engaged. Just because somebody's more vocal on the bench doesn't mean that they're more engaged in the game. Alvin Gentry is very engaged in every game. You just don't hear him yelling on the sidelines.
I agree with him.
Why?
I like Doug.
That does. Oh my God. All right. Moving on.
No,
just because you yell doesn't mean you're more engaged.
No, that's true. That is very true. That is true. I don't know. There's just something, the way that he acts, the way that he speaks, the way that he talks after the game in these press conferences. He says all the right things.
Yeah, he does. He does.
He seems like a guy. Don't take this the wrong way, but Gentry has done a lot of losing in his career.
Yeah.
A ton of losing. So when he loses, it's like, we lost. It sucks. Another loss. Versus like Doug Christie, I feel like this guy can't sleep after a loss. And not saying that doesn't happen to other head coaches, because I'm sure it happens to almost, if not all of them. But it seems to bug him a little bit more. I don't know if that's considered engagement or not, but he just seems to care more.
Again, I have a hard time agreeing with that statement that he cares more. That how can you say that Alvin Gentry doesn't care as much as he does? I agree with you that
does he care more than Luke? Does he care more than Luke?
Well, Luke is like asleep most of the time that he's walking around. So, yeah, crickets going.
Crickets
what is that
going
supposed to mean?
in the comments.
No, but it sounds like Doug Christie is your white knight. He's your Harvey Dent, and you're just gonna throw him out there.
Yeah.
To get all this great, he's gonna have all the emotion, the high, the energy. He's gonna have it all sucked out of him as he has to coach this Kings team and lose a ton of games for the rest of the year.
You'd rather suck it out of Gentry?
Well, yeah, the guy's a lot older, so he's already had most of his energy sucked out of him.
Exactly. That's why he doesn't have so much energy and he's not engaged in the games. We got to hear more from a couple guys. All we're hearing is from Skip and Gotham. I'm going to put a poll in here. Who you guys would rather see finish the season? Would you rather? And this is just for the rest of the season. This isn't for next season. So, because I feel like anything you do right now, you can't really make decisions on head coach for next season. You just kind of got to let it play out because you don't even know who's going to be available. Maybe Brad Stevens gets fired from his position and he's available. Not that he's really won much with the Boston Celtics, but I like him a lot. There's a lot of guys I like. We talked about Kenny Atkinson. Some of those other guys might be great. I just really like what I've seen from Doug. So let's hear from you guys in the poll here.
I think. Sorry, I'm responding to Gotham's question. I think that, again, this is one of those examples of where it's a little bit of an overreaction. You see something for so short and it's just a little bit different and it feels really, really good.
Yep.
But you have to take a step back and look at the bigger picture here. I saw somebody say in the chat, well, Alvin Gentry's game against the Grizzlies was way worse than Doug Christie's game against the Grizzlies. Doug Christie was on the bench for both of those games, guys. He was on the bench for both of those games. He's an integral part of the coaching staff. He's talking to the players during games. Just because he comes in and is head coach and they play much better for that one game, like
Gentry is on the bench for all those Luke losses.
Okay. Well,
we'll let them decide in the chat.
Yeah.
We agree a lot on the show, but sometimes it's good to agree to disagree.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I feel bad saying all this because I do really like Doug Christie. I think that he's been a breath of fresh air for them from the start of the season, not just these past 4 games that he's had to be the interim head coach.
We got people voting wrong in here already. I just believe
that it looks like Doug Christie's getting 67%.
Brandon says, accidentally said Gentry, switch one vote to DC, please.
Oh, well, he's already 67%, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, man, we should have bet a shot on this one. I got a good chance here. First time ever. All right, we're going to move on here. We're going to move on. Still, I want you guys to fill that out. We need to know. And we'll follow up next episode. RP says Barnes needs to go.